Okay, we're recording.
All right, here we go. Hello, everybody. I am Health Coach Gina, and again, I'm here with Health Coach Kristen. Today, we are talking about on our Flourish in 5, which is our wellness tips that we're covering in 5 minutes or less. Today, we're talking about 5 reasons that we want to ditch the low-fat or fat-free dairy. And we sort of all grew up with the mindset that drink your milk, you need your calcium, you need your vitamin D, or it's a good source of protein. And today we're going to debunk some of those things. And Kristen, if you want to talk a little bit, we'll start out with what's not real about this.
Okay, I'm going to start my timer. 5 minutes.
Yes, 5 minutes.
Okay. Okay. So what's not real about
What's
dairy?
not real? Low fat or fat-free dairy.
This is a tough subject for people to pull away from dairy. But basically, when we take low-fat dairy, we're talking about like skim milk, where they're just taking all the fat out. And what we already do to dairy, we have to homogenize and pasteurize it. And then the fat has to also be taken out. So what happens is they're separating the curds and the whey, and then they take that whey and this used to be a waste product of milk, but now they sell it as a health food. So you see it on store shelves as the whey protein powder. And that's actually kind of just disgusting. It's something that's extracted from the milk. And then since nobody would want to buy the milk in that state, they have to add things back in, and then they're adding powdered milk back in, which is just oxidized cholesterol. And it's the kind of cholesterol that promotes cardiovascular disease. So it actually makes that thing that you think is really healthy into something that's even more toxic than it was in the first place before they took the milk fat out.
Oh, that's crazy. That's crazy. Who knows that? I mean, that's not out there. That's not out there for people to know.
No.
It's nutritionally deficient, isn't it?
It is. So basically, there's what they do is they take milk has good sources of vitamin A and D, which is, like you said, we're thinking that we need the vitamin D in the milk, but then they're extracting that when they're removing the fat. So those vitamins A and D are fat soluble vitamins and minerals. And then what we have to do is add that back in. And then that's why you see milk that's on the shelf saying fortified with vitamin D, a good source of vitamin D, but they're adding these synthetic forms back into the milk, and it's making it something that's not healthy.
It's an isolate. It's an isolated form of a chemically created vitamin.
Yeah. We don't want those.
And vitamin D is a hormone actually that we make in our bodies. So the best way is what? Get out in the sun so we can make our own vitamin D.
And eat what the cows eat if you want the vitamin D. Eat the leafy greens.
Yes.
Yes. And also another topic is that it's making you sick, is what we do when they're extracting the fat out of there. They're taking this fat that it's called CLA, or conjugated linoleic acid. And actually what that does is that acid that's in that milk fat is actually known to help reduce cancers, especially colorectal cancers. So by reducing that, we're removing something that's actually really beneficial in that fat.
Wow, that's pretty interesting. And not to mention it's mucus forming, right? Like that's always something that I say when parents have kids that are constantly sick and constantly runny nose, and they have to go, the next appointment is to talk about getting the surgery to get the tubes put in the ears and whatnot, or strep throat that's constantly happening. Lay off the dairy, give it a month, lay off the dairy and see how that goes. And there's almost always improvement in that.
Almost always. I'll say always. And that's right. That people that eat the low fat or no fat dairy actually gain more weight, because when we remove the fat from something, it's that part of that food that keeps you satisfied longer. So having that amount of fat in the dairy makes you fuller longer, and you tend to eat less calories. So when you remove that, then you go looking for it somewhere else. And a lot of times people go looking for it even not only in like forms of other fats, but in sugar as well. So we're adding more calories that we really don't want.
Right. And isn't that how the 80s turned out to be, right? Everything was fat free and low fat, and have the bagel, but don't put any cream cheese on it. Like everything has to be low fat or fat free. And what happened? Everybody got fat. So it's not really the fat, it's the sugar. And then that's the part of the added
Yeah.
hidden things, as you said.
And like I said
So,
earlier, it's that fat actually helps our bodies to assimilate all the vitamins and nutrients that we're getting from the healthy foods that we eat. So taking the fat out, it just basically then you're just flushing all those vitamins right through and they're not being absorbed and used.
right.
Yes.
Okay, so talk about whole fat dairy.
So basically, when you eat whole fat dairy, especially if you can get like we used to be able to find raw dairy, like when we had our own cows on our own farms, but now we're pasteurizing and homogenizing. But the raw dairy, what we get from that, like if you can still find like raw cheese, raw milk. You know, you'll see the word raw on there, and that basically means just like with honey, they haven't removed all the things. Ah,
They have all the enzymes in there, all the goodness that we want in there.
so they left all the good things in there, and that's what you want. So
Yep.
that our 5 minutes is up.
All right. Thanks everyone for joining us.